Good evening. My name is Ryan Fry. I'm the councilperson for District 5. Normally we do have a full board. Tonight we had a couple of excused absences and a couple of unexcused. So we're not full strength tonight. We're going to proceed with our agenda. Everything that the board hears is advisory to me, so that I can help make a better decision for the residents of District 5. So appreciate you all being here. I do not run the meeting. I allow Pro Tem, that is J.D. Johnson. He does a great job, and I will now turn it over to him. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Well, can we approve the agenda for today?
Not really. Not a binding vote, but we'll just
Approve it anyway.
we'll work on it. Yeah.
Okay. I have a motion from you to approve the agenda.
Second. It's a good to
It's a split vote.
do.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. I know we cannot approve the minutes last.
We can call that till next time.
Next time, okay. Public agenda, any agenda items? I know you have them.
Yeah, I have one.
We'll hear from the board first, and then we can.
Okay. It was brought to my attention that there is a request if we could look at a sidewalk on 37th Street from Tyler's Landing to Bridgeport. And it's to help for Tyler to Passbridge to Bridgeport.
Okay.
And it's
Wait, on the north side or?
on the north, they're, I guess, on the north side it is.
Yeah.
They're needing it more than on the south side.
So public works first. Don't we have sidewalks on both sides of 37?
I would have thought so, but I would have to actually look at aerial to look at that. You can take a look at that. We have arterial sidewalk.
Yeah.
Typically, there is a line item in CIP for arterial sidewalk. Typically, what's going to be the top of the list are arterials that don't have any sidewalk on either side.
Right.
So it may be down on the list. We can look at adding that to the list. If you're talking anything east of Ridge, that becomes awfully hard to do because that's still an open intersection.
And that's, I think, where the need is. There's 450 children going to school in that area. And it was brought to my attention that a lot of them are riding their bikes. And so there's a lot of challenges coming from their Bridgeport and from Tyler's Landing.
So from Bridgeport north, west to Ridge Road, there is no sidewalk because it is ditch on
And
both
it's-
sides. But then once you get across Ridge Road, there is sidewalks.
And it's getting them.
Yeah, I understand.
We can take a look at it. Yeah. But again, it's going to be hard to get in there with the open ditch section. And then if we have sidewalk on one side, it's obviously going to be a lower priority, but arterial does have sidewalk on either side.
Again, just with the school children.
37 has an ongoing ordinance. We'll take a look at it.
Thank
It's
you.
good if we do look for those sections, like Sean was talking about, where we don't have connections, we try to make them. That's what we did on Ridge Road, from Clear Meadow to 29. And so we try to find the challenge is the open ditch.
Right. And I tried to explain that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, Andrew, if you want to say something, go up here, right?
Do you want me to use voting?
If we prefer it. We are Facebook Living tonight's
Okay.
meeting, so, all right, if you want speakers to go up there.
Well, hello, good evening. I had a couple questions on the Newmarket Square bus stop and when we were gonna get sidewalks down on the other side of 21st and that, and when we were gonna get the push button for Tyler and 21st the, new, push button there. Mr. City Council member.
Okay, so 21st and Tyler, the push button at the crosswalk.
There is not.
And you and I had talked about the bus stop at Newmarket Square.
Yes.
We're working on that. And the other one was sidewalks along where?
Sidewalks on the other side of 21st where the ditch is. Yeah,
So, that on the south side, that too
Yeah.
is ditch, and I know we've looked at that before. I'll have to go back to Public Works and revisit the challenge of that.
okay.
You know what we're talking about, Sean, right?
Great.
I think so. I'm looking at an area here, 21st of May's side.
We're south side, 21st.
South side, the bridge, Mays, which is 2 miles through, but it's all that deep there, so there's a lot of drainage on the south side.
Well, at Mays, it goes from Mays Road to Valley View Street on both
Yeah.
sides.
It's not the entire, there's sections.
And so the easy answer, at least just east of Valley View, is the drainage way. That's where that box comes underneath, and it's just not long enough, and it actually turns there, so trying to fit everything in that existing ditch and extend that out, pretty hard to do. We can take a look at it. But
Yeah, we'll revisit. Thank you, Andrew.
Well,
Does everyone have anything else? Do your name and address. I'm sorry. Your name and address.
My name is Sheets. Address 1239. All right. And I apologize for my home.
Oh, you're good.
Anyway, my question. I'd like to know when we're going to do the start paving and finish the paving. I part one, I hear what I thought was very good. 13. I'm talking to the city engineer. He said, well, it's not engineering right now, contract engineering. That's on the other way.
Okay, Sean, you want to take that now? or-
I can. So I talked to the consultant today. We're getting very, very close to wrapping up plans. He just has some notes he needs to add to the plans based on some earlier comments that we had. If you go out there right now, Cox is still relocating. You see the bundle of PVC there just east of 135th and 13th. Cox still has their relocation to do. There's a pole right there at the corner that has to go away, and that whole pole line's going away. It's all going underground. We still have right of way that we have to acquire to complete that project. We are in the process of getting appraisal on the right of way that we still have left to be able to wrap that up.
But I guess my question is, we've been working this for 10 years.
Yes,
What's keeping us from getting it done?
that, the right of way acquisition, the utility relocation. The plans to be done before those get done. And I will send you a set of the plans so you can take a look at them.
Do you have any idea when that will be?
The plans are probably within the next 2-3 weeks. We should be able to wrap everything up. Right away, I don't know, because I don't know what process we're gonna have to go. I don't know what the property owner's gonna say after we get through the appraisal process and they look at a more detailed appraisal of what we're offering as far as we consider fair compensation for that. The utility is actually supposed to be done at the end of last month, meaning May. But I'm guessing because of the wet weather, they couldn't do some of the work they're doing. Obviously, the water on the road there for some period of time. So I'm guessing in the next 2-3 weeks, they should be done.
I guess long range, is it gonna be done this year?
It will not be complete, construction will not be complete. You're probably looking at a complete construction season to be able to do that. So you're probably looking at 9-10 months to be able to complete that project.
Well, I've been in 12 years.
It will be bid this year. It just won't be, construction will not be complete.
Hopefully, we'll not take as long as Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dates, Mark.
I'll say, I don't have anything really.
We'll start with fire.
Well, I'm Captain Kid Austin, Sea Shift Captain, Section 21. I know know this microphone didn't work. This is theirs.
It's a
There's another microphone in here, if you guys can't hear me, let me know. Fire service here at District 5 made 10 fire alarms this month. FIU didn't put a loss value or a cause on any of those. Had 38 service alarms, 214 medical alarms for a total of 262 incidents within the month. So, other things that is going on with the fire department this month, tomorrow we're having our Citizens Fire Academy graduation. We take place there in council office tomorrow at their meeting. We've had 15 graduates from our fire academy this month. Part of those were from a grant allowing us to put truck 5 on, which is an aerial platform truck with the platform, 100-foot ladder. We put one of them on out east now where we were kind of missing some area, some coverage out there, so we're putting that on this month. And with those graduates, the 15 of them, 6 of them are going to what is called D shift, which right now we have 3 shifts, A, B, and C, and we work 24, and then we're off at 48, so A, B, and C are working. I started doing a D shift for the summer months here. Some of those graduates are going to be doing D shift, and which will allow us to do a little less overtime, I guess. The fire department's been having trouble with the city manager and stuff because we always go over budget. Most of us do the staffing during summertime, so hopefully this will alleviate some of that. So, and that's about all they got for me. I'm not going to mention anything about smoke detectors for the bad over there.
not yet.
Right there. Is there any questions? Thanks, guys.
Thank you much. And, please.
Officer High, representing Patrol West, District 5, beats 16, 19, 199. Quickly on the statistics here today, on 16 beat is between Big Ditch, Tyler, Maple, and 13th. We're talking about violent crimes, property crimes, homicide, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larcenies, and auto thefts. So those are the only crimes we're talking about. We're talking about statistics. Year to date, violent crimes are down 4% on 16B, down 29% on property crimes. Property crimes is typically what we see out west. Total 27% of the violent crimes, together with the property crimes. 199B is down 13% violent crimes, down 39% property crimes, again, very good. Total 37% year to date. 19B is up 38% violent crimes. Those are small numbers, when you look at it, it's 13 versus 7 from the year prior. Property crime is down 17%, total crime down 15%. So, as far as statistics when it comes to crimes, we look good compared to what we've had, or at least last year. Even looking back on the 3-year average, it looks pretty good as well. A few things that are going on, obviously, Riverfest, it doesn't really affect staffing on the street. All that is part-time officers downtown. They've supplemented that now with private security. What I've heard so far, I worked down there on Saturday, so I know a little bit. Attendance is up, all that's good, and crime has always been low, or it has been low for some years. So I urge anybody to go out there. It was a good time on Saturday when I was out there. In early June is when shootings historically spike in Wichita. I don't know if that's something that occurs across the nation or not. I'm not sure exactly what the factors are that precipitate that. But June is typically when there is a spike. So knowing that, we're trying to put some things in place to mitigate or try to lessen the
the opportunities for those kind of crimes to occur. Some of the things that we're doing, we're trying to identify high-risk victims, either through domestic violence calls or other kind of calls where we've had numerous victims that have been victimized more than once, and also perpetrators as well. Identify them, and then try to put services in place, whether that's on the offending side or supporting things in place so we can help out the victims. And then one other thing that just came to my attention, at least, Central and Ridge in the apartment complex and throughout West Side. 8 total crimes, 6 of them on the west side. Cox trucks are typical, but work trucks, they're stealing hoods off these trucks. Don't know why. I don't know exactly what the market is for those.
Entire hood?
Yeah, the hoods off these work trucks. But 3 of those out of the 8 have occurred in apartment complexes. So at least it kind of narrows it down where we can look and we can target. So we're looking at that. And Riverfest kicks in. That is typically our busy season when we start kicking in. And I can tell you today was extremely busy. Just call. So that'll go on throughout the summer. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you.
Parks and Recreation, David.
Yeah, David McGuire with Park and Recreation. I'm glad to report that we did get our ribbon cutting in over at Frog Woodlands on the 18th of the month. I think an hour after we finished the little ceremony, a deluge hit, and we timed it just perfect. But we got it in, the Frog family was there, and it was a very nice event. Probably 50 or 60 people attended the ribbon cutting, so that was pretty neat. I remember to bring the brochure, so you can look at the brochure. There's some more back there if any of you want to grab one of these. On the very front there is scuba diving lessons. We're going to be teaching scuba diving right over there at Harvest Park. So if you haven't learned how to scuba dive yet, you can come over and learn how to do it. There's a ton of activities in here, so feel free to grab one of those. Tomorrow at City Council, they will be talking about the aquatic master plan, which has been out there for a number of years being discussed. So hopefully tomorrow they'll finish that all up and we'll get moving forward on improving our swimming pools and splash pads. I do have some special events that I would like to announce. Cars in the Park is going to be down at Watson Park on June 22nd. Movies in the Park over here at Buffalo Park. We're going to have a series of movies in the park and in several different parks throughout the summer. So that could be kind of fun. Concerts in the park, we're going to start up over at McAdams Park, the 29th. And then we're going to do something different. This year we have dive-in movies at Harvest Park at the swimming pool. So there'll be floats that you can sit out there in the pool and float around and we're going to watch a movie. And eat popcorn. Hopefully you don't drop your popcorn in the water because it'll get real soggy real quick. So that could be kind of fun. So we have a lot of activities planned. Our summer camps have all kicked off. We have a ton of classes in here, cooking classes, self-defense, exercise, all kinds of stuff. So hopefully you can find something that interests you. So we've got it going on this summer. We're ready to go. Any questions?
What time is the movies in the park at Buffalo?
At Buffalo, from 6 to 11. I think they're going to do two movies back to back. So a younger family type movie to start with, and then doing some other movies later on. Yeah. Same with the dive-in movies at the pool. They're going to be early evening, stuff that.
It was a nice event put together. Thank you.
It was good. It came out very nice.
Thank you. Next, Tracy. Library.
Hi, I'm Tracy Partridge. I'm the manager of the Westlake Branch Library, and I'm so excited to talk with you about what is happening at the library. So on May 28th, we started registration for our summer reading incentive programs for children. And in 1 week, we already have 4,000 children and teens signed up for those programs. At the Westlake Library, which is my library, we have actually already signed up 1,500, which is 38% of the total participation in the program. So we're really pumped. Now, if you have children or teens and you have not signed up for our reading incentive programs yet, it is not too late. We're going to be doing that through actually July 19th. We have a baby bookworms program, which is from birth through age 2. You complete 15 early literacy activities with the child, and then they get a prize package. They get a book for their library at home, they get a little toy, and then some coupons for some free stuff. We have a kids read program, which is for ages 3 through grades 5, entering grade 5. With that, what you do is for every 10 days that you read 20 minutes each day, the kids actually get a little prize package. There are coupons for free things at area businesses. The 30-day prize is actually a book to add to their library. And then the final reading incentive program we have is actually for teens. It's that Teens Read program, which is for grades 6 through 12. It functions the same as Kids Read, so for every 10 days that you read 20 minutes each day, you get a prize package. The 30-day prize is the book for the library at home. But teens are a little bit different, so we give them a little bit more. And basically what it is for each time that they read 10 days, they get an entry into an Amazon gift card drawing. So those are the 3 reading incentive programs, and they are starting out really well, and we are super excited about them. Now, another thing that I wanted to mention, at the library we have lots of free activities that we do. We are actually doing 193 activities this month with all of our library locations, and all of those are free. At the Westlake Library, we are doing 39 different activities over the course of the month. And they are for all ages, so babies all the way through seniors. Some things that I wanted to highlight is our story times actually start this week. We have story times for babies because we think it is never too early to start reading to children, all the way up to age 5. And some other things that I want to mention, we have a STEAM camp that's happening the second week of June, June 11th through June 14th, from 2:30 to 3:30 on Tuesday through Friday. And the topics are going to be all space related. So we're doing hovercrafts, solar system, icy orbs, and water rockets. So we have a lot of fun science activities for ages 8 to 11 that week. Another thing that I wanted to mention is actually for adults, and it's actually occurring at the Advanced Learning Library. The STEAM camps are happening at Westlake, but this activity is happening at the Advanced Learning Library. It's a program called The Big Ditch, and it's about the history of its construction. We're actually going to have historian and writer Becky Tanner go to the Advanced Learning Library on June 12th at 1:30 to talk about just the history of that. Another program that we're doing at Westlake is something called Relay Races with Dad. It's our second year to do a Father's Day program. With that program, it is for actually kids aged 4 to 11 and just an adult male in their lives who's really important. And we're going to do things like name that tool or what's in his wallet, and another activity called Our Hands Are Tied. So it should be a lot of fun. And that is on June 15th at 2:30. And then the final thing that I wanted to mention, I am a big Star Wars fan. Is there anyone else here who's a big Star Wars fan? Ooh, I love it. Yay, we've got Star Wars fans. We are doing a program called In a Not So Far Away Galaxy. It's on June 22nd at 2:30 at Westlake. It is intended for 5 to 16, so you're a little bit older, but that doesn't mean you can't find someone to bring. And we are actually going to have stormtroopers there. I am personally hopeful that Chewbacca will be there. But we're going to have characters from Star Wars movies and then activities related to them. And that is for 5 to 16-year-olds and their families at Weston on June 22nd at 2:30. And so those are just a few because you don't want me to talk about all 193 activities we're doing at the library this month. Are there any questions? No questions. Okay, so if there are some of these which list all of our activities on that table back there. So if you do not already have one, I strongly encourage you to pick one up. And I hope to see you at the library.
Thank you, Tracy. Public Works.
Not a whole lot's changed since last month, so I'm gonna run through these pretty quickly. But if you have any questions on any of them, or any of them that I don't hit on, just let me know. So the 2018 OP3 program, 13th from 119th through Mays, that microservicing is supposed to start this month. 2019 program, residential streets, the pavement prep work will start this fall. The microsurfacing will begin in the spring of 2020. Arterial streets, Central, Stafford to Mays Road. Prep work will start this fall. The asphalt overlay will be spring 2020. Tyler from Maple to Second. Prep work will start this fall, and the asphalt overlay will begin in the spring of 2020. Preservative seal, I'll bring this up because this was a project that was just completed a couple of years or so ago, 21st from Mays to Ridge. So what you'll see there is they'll be coming back and doing preservative seal to try to keep that improvement as long as they can do that. Should be much quicker than we saw with the prep work and then the final surface coming through. But they'll do a preservative seal on that to try to keep that as best they can. Hoover bike path, the final design has been approved by City Council. We are moving forward with that design and looking at construction early 2020. That will add a signal at Zoo and it'll connect the bike path. Will connect from Zoo to the Central County Park, go all the way up to the south side of K96. A good portion of that is already built from just south of 29 all the way up to 96. Already built, filling the gaps and have a signal there both for cars and pedestrians at Hoover too. 13th Street I already talked about, so I won't mention. 29th and Mays goes to council tomorrow for that concept to be approved. This will design work too. Correct. A supplemental to complete the design for that is. And that's all I have for
So the 29th and Mays project, we had the workshop a couple months ago. Concept will be approved. We want additional funding so we can finish the design so it'll be shovel ready. And we're getting funding so we can move it out. We can. Right now it's good for 22, the construction, but this design was a lot less money. So we're hoping that by having a complete design, if things fall away, we might be able to figure it out. But that's really trying to push this. That's looking at it Sunday. It was 1:45 in the afternoon. Right turn lane back all the way up to Academy. It's ridiculous. So, you know how bad it gets during the holidays. So, we gotta get that moving. So.
Good. Let's go to sleep. All the motion minor. Okay, we have a motion to receive file. Thank you. And a motion to second to receive file all reports on favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. Scooter pilot program. Mike. You scooter with me?
No, this is the third time I've been asked that. I guess we should have brought something.
Maybe you should.
I think you're gonna see him you're not gonna see him out here, that's for sure, but you're gonna see him in Wichita probably. But definitely before summer's coming, that's for sure. So we're excited about that. In fact, I thought it was Heritage the director of transit, but apparently now it's bike share, scooters, transit, whatever. So I was asked by Councilman Fry to come give you an update on what will transpire tomorrow and over the next couple of weeks with regards to
ordinance changes and the outline of what a pilot program would look like if and when a scooter provider wishes to show that. So, Corey, go on the screen.
This one,
Right there.
do you see this? Do you want me to say clicker?
Which one is the clicker? The
I don't think there is.
no? You want to do that for?
Yeah, I can.
We got tried this. I don't know how.
Teamwork.
Now you're gonna have to sit through the presentations.
So we wanted to make sure that when we started this process back in November, that we brought together most of the departments that would be impacted either directly or indirectly, from what we had learned from a few of the other cities that we've reached out to. So we made sure that we interacted with the police department, obviously the city manager's office, our legal team, transit, since a lot of this will fall under the purview of transit, the park department, and obviously public works and utilities. What we tried to do as we went through that is to review current practices that a number of communities, both large or smaller and the same size as Wichita, had already gone through. And at the time that we started, there were over 60 communities that currently had some form or another of either a pilot or a full-blown scooter program going on. So one of the things that we looked at was we started our discussions with companies that reached out to us. Initially, the biggest one, and the one that was the most aggressive at the time, was Bird. You see them in many of the major cities. I think them and Lime were one of the first two that started this process. Bird has since that time sort of slowed down their interest in Wichita. Some of that has to do with, some of that has to do with their perception of what Wichita was as a city as compared to how far spread out we are and how the center of the town is very compressed. WSU is right down. So I think from their standpoint, as they went through last year, they had some issues with regards to other communities, so they sort of backed off a little bit. But that actually opened the door for a number of cities, or a number of companies, I should say, that are more right-sized to what Wichita is. Gotcha, Razor, a few other ones that had reached out to us, and actually our own bike share company, Zagster, has expressed interest in being part of the pilot program also. And I would say those are probably more right-sized to the city of Wichita as compared to somebody who may be in either New York City or Minneapolis or Los Angeles. So we started working on a draft pilot and program in ordinance. Again, using a lot of boilerplate from Kansas City, Columbia, Missouri, and a few other places. Scooters, like a lot of things that are going on, you don't have to rewrite everything. You can take documents that have been successful in other communities and work off of those. So we did that, and then we also we looked at multiple district topic-based advisory boards. We talked to the transit board. We talked to at least the two DABs that would be heavily impacted, at least from the interest that we've seen so far, which is DAB 1 and DAB 6. That's probably where 90%, if not all, deployments would probably be, at least in the pilot programs. So we talked about those, and then obviously we want to make sure that the council has been advised of where we were to get their feedback. We were in a workshop where we started the discussion of how a pilot may look, and that some of the ordinance changes that legal came back and said to us would have to be done before we would even think about it, or excuse me, think about a scooter program. So some of the changes, I should say all of the changes that would have to be done to the municipal code, and there'll be one reading, first reading of that tomorrow, are these 5 bullet points. First of all, we have to allow for the use of those scooters in bike lanes and bike paths. Obviously prohibiting the use of those on sidewalks. Prohibit parking in selected areas. And that is really spelled out in the that has changed dramatically, working on this. Bird at that time was the largest provider, and they were leaving scooters everywhere and anywhere, quite frankly. Now that has moved where there are actually specifically assigned areas where these are left, and they also deploy from when they redeploy in the morning. The other thing that has changed is Bird was using and Lime were using independent contractors to come and collect them up during the night and charge them, and then put them back out in the next morning. The smaller and more companies that would be more along the lines of what we would be looking for and be looking for Wichita, they actually have employees here, and every night they go out, they collect all the scooters up, take them back to their shop, repair them, see if they need to be replaced, they charge them up, and then they redeploy them back to their spaces every morning. So we found that to be a very clean way of doing it. It allows them to get off the street. Ones that you're not relying on independent contractors, you have people that are responsible to the company. So we think that's been, those two things have been very, very positive since we started. The other thing that we obviously want is the ability for the city staff, mostly transit, to impound scooters if they do end up in front of somebody's business or by chance in front of somebody's home. Obviously, the pilot provider, they know where those scooters are at all times. But if someone calls our offices, we wanted to make sure we had the ability to go out there and impound that. We'd rather have us do that than have to sit there and become an obstruction. And the other thing that we wanted to make sure is that all operators must be at least 18 years of age in order to be able to operate a scooter and to form a contractual relationship. Under the pilot program, we wanted to make sure that we started out with a document that gave flexibility, but also gave direction as to what we thought was important for any pilot and any company that was interested in coming in. But we also wanted to make sure that it was something that could be controlled. It was the city's direction and our direction and our marching orders to make sure that it was a purveyor of free market, so that it would meet the requirements of companies, so that we would get more than one that would come in to do that. We wanted to make sure that we maintained the initial fleet size per pilot to between 100 and 500. 500 is where you would probably see the larger birds. 100 could be somebody like Razor, could be somebody like Gotcha, somebody who's looking to target to see if they can start to identify what their market would be. We wanted to make sure that they had a proven and tested and verifiable maintenance and safety program. They had the adequate insurance to cover the usage of the scooters. They had the ability to data share with us, because obviously, as you'll see in some of the costing analysis of it, that data is going to be very important as far as making sure that the city recoups its per ride cut of the use of that. And then also the ability to establish speed and use restriction zones, which with technology today, that's actually very easy to do. But we wanted to make sure that we had the ability to control that. Like in the case of Riverfest. Next year, we're not going to want scooters to be able to go through Riverfest. We can do that. We can set geofencing up. We can also take areas where the maximum speed limit for the scooters is 15 miles an hour, but there may be areas we want to take it lower. There may be congestion, or there may be situations that we want to be able to react towards. Another part of the pilot was to make sure that they understood that there was to be no operation of scooters on our sidewalks. They wanted to make sure that we set up that they were only to be operated on streets with a speed of less than 40 miles an hour. Make sure that they understand that bike lanes and bike paths are where scooters are supposed to be. And then the last point, we've had a number of different iterations of that. But we had a conversation with Bird again today about that particular line. They wanted to see it to be 9 o'clock all the time. Our position is that during daylight savings time is not in place, we feel much more comfortable and much more safe for our people that are both operating cars and operating scooters, that we don't want them at 6:30 at night in November when it's dark to be operating a scooter. one of the things that I think we should, as a whole, all of us are gonna have to get used to in certain areas of where those scooters are. And being aware of that is gonna take a while for that to happen. So we wanna make sure that the pilot program allows for scooter users to get used to the system, but also non-scooter users to get used to the system. One of the things that we want to make sure with regards to violation, if there is a violation, the city can remove it immediately. We don't have to contact them and go through a waiting process. We have the ability again to pick that scooter up, take it back to the transit department. We have facilities in back to be able to do that. We have 3 personnel that are out in the street all the time. We go get that and bring it back to transit, and then they can pick it up from us. We feel that's the best way to deal with that. We don't need to be putting more pressure on our police department or even our parking ambassadors to be able to do that. Some of the fees that we talked about, that we want to make sure that, obviously, if we do have to get a common scooter, there would be a $32 fee to the pilot, to the company for to do that. There's an annual administration fee for the pilot. Varying on the size of the fleet, from $500 to $1,000. And then there's a general fee that every time that a scooter is used or activated, there is a fee back to the city of $15 per ride. Basically, it's $15, but 15 cents. And again, that seems to be that seems to be where we're right in the meat of where most cities are with regards to that. We felt that was a good place to start, especially with this being a pilot. And with that, prior to tomorrow's meeting, as I said, tomorrow is for the purpose of the first read of the ordinance changes, and then the second read will hopefully be next week. And then after that, the pilot would go into effect with council's blessing. And then anytime a applicant wishes to apply, that would require city council's approval per pilot agreement. So it would not just be one blanket and 5 or 6 can come in. Each one comes in, they'll be evaluated by city staff, and then that recommendation would go to city council to whether to approve that. We would, obviously, the meat and potatoes of the agreement would be the same, but we want to make sure that each company understands what their rules of engagement are in the city of Wichita. And once staff makes a recommendation to city council, that they know that all those boxes have been checked. So that's our plan at this point. And with that, if there's any questions.
Any questions from Mike?
The scooters, are they, I mean, for the blind and visually impaired, because there's lots of folks there that, you know, use the sidewalk, and blind people do have guide dogs, me included. How are you guys going to enforce the scooters to move aside if the blind person is walking on the sidewalk?
Well, obviously, if that scooter is on the sidewalk, that is a direct violation of the pilot program. We have the ability, and they have the ability, as we ask for watch traces, to see what scooters are and where they are within 3 feet. My understanding is most of the scooters have audible sounds that are made, but the idea is that they were not to be on the sidewalk, so that that's the particular reason that you talk about. So that's.
And they have to obey the same rules as vehicles when on the streets, correct? That's correct.
That is correct. They all have lights, and so as they are, and we're going to be watching that aspect of it very closely, because that's going to determine, and obviously part of the pilot is if there is significant violation or violations, they can immediately be removed from their ability to do business with the city.
Another question?
How will you know, or how will you control people that maybe have their own scooters, just individuals that have scooters? And then
That's the question that always comes up with regards to like electric skateboards and things like that. And that is one of the questions too, that when you identify what an electric scooter is, anybody can buy those electric scooters now at Walmart, In fact, in my neighborhood, I see them all the time going to the pool and back. That's something that's going to be difficult to control, and it's been going on for quite a long period of time, obviously, in certain neighborhoods. But I think that would be a reach for us to get to the point that we start trying to manage that from the standpoint of if transit or parking ambassadors see something like that, or WP does, it would probably have to be done on an as-case needed basis.
Now I've seen a motorized skateboard go on Main Street.
Yeah, it's like a one wheel, like a gyro wheel, and a big strata. I've seen that.
And we made sure that in this here, it clearly states what a scooter is, it falls underneath that. But I think we're finding as technology advances so fast, batteries are getting smaller and electric engines are getting more powerful. And the ability to charge them for a longer period of time is bringing a lot of stuff to the table that was never even thought of even 2 years ago.
So what is the projected revenue and where would that revenue be going now?
The revenue has projections for revenue. We really don't know where that's going to stand. If we looked at what we anticipate probably 3 initial providers. And they all have 12 months from the time that they're approved as a provider. So if each one of them was a 250 or let's say a 100, and you normally, when their success rate is 3 rents per day. So a scooter to be viewed as successful, they have 100 scooters deployed. If each one of those scooters is averaging, or I should say, if the system is averaging 3 trips per day per scooter, that's a success. So if you have 100 scooters, every time it's 3, so that's 45 cents. It can pile up pretty quick, and then obviously those. But the plan for the city is to reinvest in the assets that they're going to be using, bike share and scooters would be using now and in the future. So there's signage, there's street painting that can be done, things to improve those amenities, and that's where we really think it should go back to those type of things.
So in here, a lot of these different pilot programs, a lot of these are $1 per vehicle per day that they use, and we went with a 15-cent per ride. If you look at the summary of pilot program fees, Kansas City has $1 per vehicle per day, Columbia $1 per vehicle per day, Stillwater $1 per vehicle per day.
Yeah, and we have found with those that those fees have not been able to be collected because they ended up being too high. A lot of their pilot programs have been abandoned because the providers have not been able to meet that level of reimbursement. So we went with the ones that have been successful and the ones that have worked from that standpoint. So that document that you have there is really the very, very beginning, and that's something that's come up in this last 5 months.
And we're probably using smaller providers than the original ones they used to. So
very true. Very true.
Any other question?
sort of two-parted. The now on the sidewalk condition, do you find that to be consistent in the other cities that you've researched? And I guess in tangent to that, this is genuine curiosity. Do we have enough quantity of bike path and lanes to accommodate not being on sidewalks?
We do in the areas that we feel that the deployments will be.
Okay.
And that's really the thing that is probably going to be the biggest question is where deployment is going to be the most successful. And obviously WSU comes into play there, Friends and Newman in that area, and then obviously the downtown area, especially during the summertime. So our thought is that in that area, yes, there's lots of bike paths and bikeways in order for them to do that. Your second question was?
Well, sorry, the first part, do most other cities not allow sidewalks as well?
Yes, yes. The ones that we used as our model, yes. Now, what I have found, I've been in Minneapolis many times since this process started, and they have not been very successful, especially in their center urbanized area, because there really is no place to go. And the sidewalks are probably the widest part. Everything else is sucked up by buses and cars and things like that. We're fortunate here. I think we have a very good infrastructure for this type of a pilot compared to some other cities that are struggling with that right now. Thank you.
Are helmets required?
Helmets will be on the checklist as being highly recommended. We can't stop them from operating it without a helmet, but that is going to be part of the safety checklist that comes up every time somebody rents a scooter. Highly
That's
suggested.
the same with the bike share too, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Now, some of the scooter companies that we dealt with, like Gotcha, when you sign up with them, they send you a $20 coupon for a helmet. Other ones, I think it's Razor, when they come in and they do their kickoff, they give away helmets. So obviously the goal is to make sure that that is supported what people do.
Maybe we say after we reached out to the county accessibility board about this and ask for any questions or kind of from, because that group has always been very, very concerned about the sidewalks. Will there be information going back to that board?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I think it's very important.
I think once these documents are finalized and then we see who expresses interest, and then at that point in time, we can really start to target how our communications are with regards to making sure they understand the accessibility issue.
Yes.
That's going to be key.
Yeah, because I think there's some misunderstanding.
And rightfully so. This is
It's
different.
a pilot, right?
It is very much so. Very much so.
Any other questions, Mike?
Just a couple other things. Transit. Can I talk about that?
Absolutely.
And Mike,
For our summer, I mean, the library was here. They were all pumped up about free. So,
Well, every month if you like.
okay, that'll be good. Hopefully every month I'll have something to tell you. This summer we kicked off, this is our first time we're actually having different summer service than what we have at other times of the year. We are providing a free bus route every single day, Monday through Saturday, to the zoo and to Sedgwick County Park and to the extension office at 21st Ridge. So that's available for people for the farmers market on Saturday, but also to people to come out and enjoy Sedgwick County Park and also enjoy the zoo. There's a beautiful shelter that hadn't been used in 6 years. So now it's being used every day, and that route is free. Saturday for Riverfest, the entire system will be free. So anybody that wants to ride a bus, hopefully to get to Riverfest and then get home, will be able to do that for free. And then all summer, all students from USD 259 that have a student ID can ride our system entirely for free every day. If they don't have a student ID, they can go to our offices on Emporia and pick up a ID that will allow them to do the same thing. So we're very excited about our relationship with WSU and with USD 259, and we want to make sure that they take this time in the summer to get used to riding the bus and to get to places maybe they haven't gone, or to do things and to save gasoline and save money, or if they have a second job they can get to, they can do that. So we're sort of excited to do that, and I'd love to come back every month and keep you informed of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Mike.
This is still a draft, we're just this past operating agreement tonight, we're going to probably just look at each well. Just to work with the operating agreement. Okay.
Preliminary budget overview.
Hi. Okay.
Things checked right now.
This one's the one. Do you want to click through the simulator when I can click through it. Never mind. I'll click through it. This you sure? Once I get there.
Yes.
All right, we ready? Hello, my name is Allie Sauls. I'm here from the Office of Budget in the Department of Finance for the city. We're here to talk about the preliminary 2020-2021 proposed budget and proposed capital improvement program. Feel free to ask questions throughout. No reason to save them to the end. Just raise your hand if you need anything. First slide. Let's see if I can figure out where it is.
Thought Challenge was really new, I guess not.
I was really hoping they weren't here for me. Students are way more exciting than my budget presentation. I'll try and keep you all awake though.
I know they really new.
That's what I like to hear. So in 2017, the city of Wichita has been using zero-based budgeting to create our budget. So are you guys familiar with what zero-based budgeting is? So you basically have to justify every single expense. The city started with a blank piece of paper, went through all of their different services, asked themselves, why are we doing this? What's the outcome? So that's how we form our budget every year. And so this organization has been pursuing excellence in a number of focused priority programs. And so all of those services listed can fit into these 5 mission statements with our overall mission statement. So run an exceptionally well-run city, keep Wichita safe, grow our economy, build and maintain dependable infrastructure, and provide conditions for living well. So all of those services can fit into those 5 levels. But we have to prioritize within each of those. So what the city did is they created this budget simulator. So I'm going to open it and I'm going to pull it up on here. So hopefully you guys have seen it. We've been trying to advertise it a lot. So this is the simulator. So it started May 13th and it's going to continue. Oh, you can't see it.
You can drag it over.
How do you drag it over?
Just literally grab it or drag it to the right. There you go.
Whoa, this is magical. Okay, it kind of worked. That's super confusing. Okay, so it ends June 15th, so I'm trying to get as many responses as possible. We're trying to get to 2,000. We have over 1,000 so far, but I need you guys to help us. Take it, tell your friends, post it on social media. If you watch this video, when you open it, it'll just give you a run through of how it works. So it only includes our general fund. Oh, sorry, this is really hard to click this. Oh gosh, it's like looking in here. Okay. Well, you can't see it, but yeah, you can help me. So you put in your appraised property value. If you're a renter, you can put in the average appraised property value. If you're very specific, you can click the link and find your actual appraised property value. Click next. And then it will calculate the city's portion of your property tax bill. So your property tax bill also goes to the state, the county, the school district, and so this is only the city's portion. And so there's different sections, all are budgeted within general fund, and then you can see the different services that we currently offer, and then you can increase or decrease by moving the slider, and it will tell you how that impacts your property tax bill, as well as how the service level will change if you increase or decrease. Does that make sense? Pretty cool. And so then you can go through it, there's 40 sliders total, and then at the end you can review your budget, you can edit it, and then you can post it on social media and share it. You can put the slideshow. You can put the slideshow back up now. You can probably just do it on this and see if it covers it. So let's click here. I think it'll cover it. Yes. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it. So on June 15th, we will release a report that will show the results from all the data we collected. It will be sent over to council, and this will all be used in consideration for our budget and for deciding our themes for the social media budget town hall that happens every year. Not for sure how familiar you guys are, but normally the city has been doing it, I think, since 2013. So it's been going on for a while now that they post different budget ideas on social media and gauge residents' feedback on it. So hopefully this simulator will be able to build us some overall themes and put us in the right direction for those budget decision packages. I went backwards. Okay, so here's our budget calendar for this year. So June, July, and August are budget's busiest months. We've kicked off the budget process with that online simulator. We'll move into the social media budget town hall June 26th. So you'll see that on Nextdoor, Twitter, and Facebook, I think are the 3 social media sites we do it on. And then after the social media budget town hall, the results will be, the results from that event and the budget simulator will be reviewed in order to help us propose the final budget. So the proposed budget will be presented to the city manager and mayor on that July 23rd meeting, and then again, public hearing will be on August 6th and August 13th. All 3 of those meetings offer time for public hearing and public comment. So we're definitely not done with our budget process yet. We're just getting started, so we need all of your feedback for the whole process. So now just talking about general fund, this is the stuff that most people like to talk about. It's about 1/3 of the city's budget, And most of what gets funded out of the general fund is police, fire, parks, libraries, street maintenance, court. We've had slower growth in our general funds that we experienced in 2001, 2008, which you'll see on the next table. But this is mostly due to a decrease in franchise fees and a slow growth in local sales tax, which we'll talk more about later. So in this, you can see what makes up our general fund revenues. So you can see that obviously property tax makes up the largest portion, which is a little over 1/3. And then franchise fees is made up of utility charges, so things like electricity, natural gas, telephones, and cable TV. And then the other sources is rents, fines, penalties, licenses. No comments, any questions on this graph? Good. Okay, so now this shows our revenue growth, which I was just talking about. So from a financial perspective, if you look at 2018, you can see that it was overall a pretty good year. We had a $2.5 million surplus. However, if you compare it to where we were before that recession, 2001 to 2008, 2018 would look like a pretty disappointing year. And that's basically just because of how our economy has changed pre and post recession. So if you look at the gray bars compared to the blue bars, you can kind of see the color up here. You can see in 2002 and 2003, there's kind of a downturn, and then in 2004, we got that huge bounce back. So that was really a typical pattern for pre-recession, but then post-recession, we just haven't been able to get that same bounce back as we did before. And that's just because so much of the economy has changed. People aren't really doing landlines, we're not collecting any fees on that, much less cable TV. Also the improved energy efficiency that loses us money on utilities that we used to get, but we win some, we lose some because now we're improving energy efficiency. So there's also impacts on the motor fuel taxes and utility franchise fees, and then obviously sales collection on online retail. We're not collecting sales tax the same way. It took us a while to catch up with that. Questions on this graph before I move on? Okay. So this is a little bit more on the recession's impact on revenues. So during a recession, revenue is impacted on a lagging basis. So interest ratings and sales tax are hit pretty early, but then property tax lags because of the way that we do our reappraisal cycle. A recession is not modeled in our 21, the future budget projections. Based on the experience that most recent recessions, it's difficult to forecast. So what would exactly happen? So this is due to the overall change in the economy, but there's no point in us trying to forecast and predict exactly what would be impacted. So let's see how we spend the money. So general fund expenditures. So salaries and benefits make up a little bit over 1/3 of the general fund. So providing city services is a pretty labor-intensive job. And two of the most labor-intensive services we provide are police and fire. And you can see how we continue to fund police and fire even through all the economic downturn. So from 2000 on, public safety has always been a priority and continues to be a priority. And so the middle line is the CPI inflation, and then the bottom one is the general fund expenditures. So when you notice that we've had some negative growth in 2009 and 2012 in the general fund expenditures that don't include police and fire still grew faster. And so in order to make this balance, cuts got made in street maintenance, parks, and libraries from 2009 to 2019. So we reduced civilian employees by about 1/3. So we went from 1,800 to 1,400 over those past years. So now on our reserves. So each year the city of Wichita adopts a balanced budget, even when there's years of declining revenue. And one of these reasons is in order to maintain reserves. So reserves are super important for cash flow, particularly if there's ever emergency or anything like that, we need cash on hand. One example is when the government has a shutdown, but then we can still maintain all of our normal operating, just do, we rely on the reserves and then we'll get reimbursed from the federal government after. So not only are they important for flexibility, but also rating agencies monitor them, so they're good for our interest rates. Any negative or any decrease in reserves in a dollar amount or percentage of expenditures is viewed negatively, and it could impact our rating. So their feedback is really important. So borrowing funds also is crucial for financing our CIPs, our capital improvement program, and therefore having favorable reserve position allows the city of Wichita to finance projects. So looking forward, it's promising, yay. During this planning period, we expect moderate growth with imbalances starting in 2021, so it's positive for now. Phase 1 of the police staffing study is fully funded in 2019 adopted, so there is that ongoing focus of public safety. And also staff are involved in the ongoing process improvements that will result in cost savings that we can hopefully help with the imbalance in 2021. So this shows you got imbalance. Oh, there's some words you can't see, but so you can see the adopted revenues is up top, and then the ongoing adjustments, and then interest earnings, and then expenditures. So the most significant change is in interest earnings, which is based on the federal funds rate that has been increased 7 times. So there's a surplus in 2019, 2020's balance, and then you can see that structural imbalance in 2021. The mayor and city council are focused on investing in 2019 on equipment and capital investments that will result in ongoing efficiencies. For example, the city has funded a 1-person pothole patcher. So this will allow for the other staff people that would normally assist to be used elsewhere that will save the city time and money. So these sort of efficiencies is what staff is working on currently to try and help out 2021. So now we're going to transition and more talk about the CIP, so our capital improvement program. So the development process involves prioritizing each project submitted by departments, and then we develop financial capacity models. So we consider the impact each project has on the operating budget, which includes the score of metrics. So, and finally, each project considered for alignment with city council direction. So you can kind of see the prioritization up here. So those are the different ways that they get scored. So scoring metrics was developed in 2018, and this year they scored all the projects that have been submitted. Some of the items that are scored are the alignment to the top community priorities, where the project is located, whether or not it's a maintenance project, and then the impacts that it would have on operating costs. So is it going to ultimately save us money in the long run? Those kind of things get all weighed into the decision-making process. So the CIP and budget interact, so they both relate to the goal of keeping Wichita safe, whereas the operating budget pays for public safety services and employee. In the CIP, they do projects such as street safety, and as well as they provide the heavy equipment, they pay for the heavy equipment for police and fire. Operating budget costs can be increased by larger facilities, so CIP can pay for new infrastructure that can replace the inefficiencies and maybe reduce operating costs. Here you can see the mill levy, so you can see what portion is the general fund and what portion goes to the debt service fund, which is that capital improvement one. And so you can see in 2018, we changed it once we get into 2019, and we shifted 1 mil from the debt service fund to the general fund, and that was to pay for that police staffing study. This shows our general obligation at large, so you can see which portion of that mill levy is going to the general service fund and the debt service fund, the general fund. This is just a visual representation of what you just saw in that graph. And this also is important to note that since 1970s, 7.5, which is where we're at currently, is the lowest that it's been. So now financing the CIP, so this is what money comes out of it, right? Yeah. So the largest categories of the projects are water and sewer, and those are utilities, and then arterials and public facilities. Public facilities includes police and fire equipment and other heavy equipment. Did you guys see this one?
No, yeah, there.
That's what you can see. All right, so now where the dollars come from. So you can see that most of them come from that water utility and the sewer utility, and then special assessments and debt service fund geo large, just shows you some of the same information just in different ways. So there's these 3 flexible funding sources. So the debt service fund can pretty much be applied to anything: transient guest tax and local sales tax. My boss compared it to having a Dillon's or a Target gift card. It can still be spent on a lot, just a little bit more specific. And so the transient guest tax bed pass can only be used for investments related to convention and tourism, so Century 2 and cultural facilities. And then the local sales tax can be used for roads, highways, and bridges.
What is the transient guest tax?
Do you know what the tax is?
I like
I would say it's 6.5 is what I was thinking.
So when was the last time that was looked at to increase?
So there's two different transient guest tax. One is T-bid, and then there's a transient guest tax. T-bid is strictly for the hotels in the downtown core area. That was adopted like 5 years ago. Is that right? But because of that addition, we have to move the transient.
I didn't know about it. But I just-
The T-bid, I think it's about 5 years.
It was 14.
14?
The other day.
Thank you.
I was on the visit with Chuck for that. That's the other reason I know.
So weird things that stick out in your memory. So determining our debt capacity, so policies impacted by this, there's a legal limit, bond covenants, sort of coverage ratio, percent spend on debt service. So determining the capacity is important to the city of Wichita. Our debt is amortized over a period of 10 to 20 years. So since the CIP is for 10 years, it's quite important that we're good with our projections. And we also want to make sure that we're complying with legal requirements, bond covenants, and being that favorable to rating agencies. So here's the legal debt limit set forth by the Kansas State statute. City of Wichita is at less than 25% of that limit. The debt limit has a much larger impact on really small communities trying to fund something big. They'll hit that way faster. And so we have our city policy debt capacity. So that top line is where we would know we would not like to exceed that. So we try not to go over 67%. And then you can see our line of where that 2018, 2027 adopted CIP is. So the metric compares debt service payments to property tax revenue. The goal is for the debt service payments to stay less than that 67% of property tax revenue. In the CIP adopted last August, there's adequate capacity to fund projects within there. I asked my boss, I want to know what the little point is. It's kind of near the arrow, and it gets higher because of the debt to the library. That makes sense. So adopted CIP update, so you guys kind of got to talk about the master plan for the pool, but it's been accelerated. So all improvements are supposed to be ready by summer 2022, where it was previously scheduled for 2025. There is a more focus on street maintenance projects and rebuilding projects and less focus on freeway. And then the library branch study is under consideration, which includes improvements to each branch location. And then 4 police stations were included in the CIP adopted last year. And additionally, some fire stations are being considered for this year as well. And that's all I have for you. It looks like no one fell asleep. Good job, well done. Councilman Friday, you have something to say about this?
I just have a couple of quick questions for you. On the budget simulator, it has 2 enterprise lines as options, golf and stormwater utility. But those are not affected by the property tax.
That's correct.
So why are they on the budget simulator?
Partially because due to difficulties experienced with respect to the golf fund, and its sustainability, there's a possibility that there could be some sort of general fund subsidy that could possibly be required in the future.
Right.
And then stormwater, I think, is just mostly out of interest, even though it's not relative to the general fund.
Yeah, but again, the whole purpose of the simulator is to see how it would affect your tax bill. So, question whether that we should include those. So, just as a quick overview, we got old school revenue generators in a modern world. The franchise fees, utility fees, all these things have changed over time, and yet these are still our main revenue drivers, same with sales tax and property tax. So we continue to look at new revenue streams like we heard tonight, scooter rental fees. That's revenue that we didn't used to get, and maybe it's revenue. But we have to continue to grow our economy. economy. That's how we're gonna get more people paying taxes, and we get more homes being built, et cetera. And then we have to continue to look at operational efficiency. A key piece, and you mentioned it, on the CIP is taking better care of our infrastructure. And that's why you're seeing a continued dollars put into our roads. That's why we're taking another look at the aquatics master plan and hopefully being better stewards of the facilities we have, taking better care of them, and using the investment that we've already put out there instead of always building new. So that's another reason why you saw the library branch studies as a way to improve them. So the matrix is something new that we started 2 years ago, and that really helps us identify those projects that have got the critical needs and the best return. So I know most people's eyes tend to glaze over when we talk about budgets, the CIP, but this is the meaty work that we have to do every year. And so it's very important. I think the budget simulator is a great tool that allows people to see how little changes in their budget can have a big impact on the entire city. And so if you haven't used it yet, get on, try it out. It's kind of fun to play with the clay, as they say. So again, thank you.
I just wanted to mention, I verified the transient guest tax is 6%.
6. Okay.
I also have, oh, do you have a question?
What about, putting that in also transportation too? Is that included in there?
In the budget simulator, transit is included in it, yes.
Okay,
That's one of the options.
all right, that's good, because transit needs a lot of help.
And again, we've got
And
money.
Brian knows this.
I know, and we have money that we took from the sale of the Hyatt, and we put that in the transit department. We ended up spending some of it until we got our new director here. Michael's been on staff less than a year, and we've started to use some of that Hyatt sales money for transit. And that's why you're starting to see things like you see the bike share, you see the scooters, we're seeing more emphasis put on safe transit facilities, biking, or walking areas, multimodal parking. So the investment's getting made. And again, we had that $4 million infusion from the sale of Hyatt.
So go put your funding for transit in the budget simulator. So I also see flyers and posters. If you're interested, if you go somewhere that you can hang this up, help us get the word out. We have 2 weeks and I need like 1,000 more participants. So would you like a poster and a flyer?
Both.
Okay. That's good. So we can do some more. I have to as well. Okay, so I'm gonna put these in the back. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, move on to, thank you, Alan. John Street. Ruth Baker.
Sean Nice again. What I'm going to talk about tonight is a petition to pave Leland Place. Get you oriented here a little bit. This is 135th Street West and Central on top. Rainbow Lakes is over here to the west. Bay Country is over here to the right. I'll show you some pictures of this, but Wheatland Avenue, which is a section that runs north-south, that section is highlighted, just got paved. You guys would have approved the petition for that in the last 6 months or so. And that was a combination of the developer of Bay Country lots there that you see they're vacant, and the housing development there on the west side of Wheatland Avenue. So we had a neighborhood meeting on the 31st of this year. After we started talking about the petition for Wheatland Avenue, there was some interest, and there's been interest over the years on paving both of these roads. decent idea of what's going on Wheeling Avenue. Because they either seen the condition or heard about it. So we went out and talked to them, went through the process with them, talked about how the improvements would happen and have to know by petition, and special assessment would pay for them. Talked about, we don't know what the interest are, but here's the interest from the past 20 years you can look at. It varies widely, but recently it's been pretty close to 2.5 to 3%. And again, like I talked about here, Wheeling is more or less complete. The only thing that's not really complete is the hammerhead of the south of the turnaround. This proposed paving petition is estimated to be $430,000. I'll talk a little bit about that when I go through some of the pictures. That cost could come down based on what we end up doing here. This is 100% assessment to the special, 100% assessed to the improvement district. In infill areas like this, you pay for the intersections. The city of Orange does. Both those intersections were completed with the Wheeling Avenue paving, so they're already done. What you're looking at there is the cost is $20,000, just a little over $20,000 a lot. And one property is only included in the improvement district because we have 2 driveways, and I'll show you that. Driveways are a direct assessment. Our contractor will go out and actually circulate a driveway request form, you tell them where you want it, in case you want to move for whatever reason, and you get to decide how wide you want it. Because you're going to go pay. You go directly back to your lot and you assess that. So the improvement district here is outlined in pink. The green boxes you see are the lots that signed, the blue are the lots that did not sign. I'll walk you through the improvement district for the paving of Wheeling Avenue. And what it ended up with was, we went and looked at this, when you get areas that have cul-de-sacs and you have curves, it becomes very complex. We tried to simplify this, and we did Wheeling Avenue. It was everybody on the east side, this large lot that most of us cut off down here, and then anybody on the west side that had a driveway to Wheeling Avenue. That was the improvement district for that. It was done to try to simplify it. On that project, the developer picked up a fair share of what they had to, as part of some discussions we had with the developer. What we're looking at now is everybody within the pink. This guy right here, 439, is actually included in this original improvement district for Wheeling Avenue. He is getting assessed for just 2 circle drives that he has off of Wheeling Place. So this is Wheeling Avenue. You can see it, the paving is just complete. This is looking to the north at the north connection of Wheeling Place. So you have Central just there in the background. This is the same intersection. This is just, you can see some of the dirt road there of Wheeling Place, which is part of the big. I want to point out some things here. Typically, when we do these, when we come in and do dirt street paving, the city standard is asphalt every other, and bar ditches go away. As you can see here on the right-hand side, up there, you can see there's still a ditch. So we could not lower this road enough to be able to get rid of that ditch. And I'm afraid we're going to do the same goal when we pave these sections. So you're probably going to end up with the ditch. We will go with the curb gutter, fix the edge, the asphalt, so you don't have it busting up very much. That 430 actually includes cost to close the ditch, in which case you have a lot more excavation because you have to go the road. So if we do keep an open ditch in Wheeling Place, what we'll be looking at is to reduce cost. The plan at this point is to be something very similar to the first slide I showed you in the second one. We talked about neighborhood meeting. Once we start the design of this project, once we get a set of road check plans, it's about anywhere from 45 to 50% plans, we would go out and have that neighborhood meeting with these guys and talk about what we can and do for any place to be able to make something. This is Leland Avenue, again, looking north, again, it's on the left side, you can see that ditch is still there. There is two sets of smoke sewer pipe going over draining to this pond, both up across the street. One of them is there, the inlet on the street up towards the north end. It actually drains the street. It also has an area in the back behind it, taking up the ditch. Down towards the south connection, I'll show you the next slide. There is a manhole with VI top that's back in that area. So there's not an inlet there, but there is drainage structure that's taking up the ditch back behind. So this is the southeast. This is the guy here that was included in both improvement districts. So what he's picking up this time is the connections. When we go in and pay these dirt street projects, you are required with projects, unless you have access to the street, to pay the drive approach with that project. And what that means is you pay from the back curb to the right of the line. Typically, you're looking at that's around 15 to 20 feet, depending on what the right of it is. Typically, the right of way is 60 feet, end up 31 back to back, so you end up 14 and a half feet behind, which is what the drive approach is. This right of way is a little bit wider, it's 70 feet. So we'll end up going back a little bit farther. So again, this is the dirt street section, running to the north and west, with the paved, that you can see back here, and I'll show you a little better picture. This is looking south from the same intersection, and the only thing that is not completed is this cul-de-sac, at the very end of the street. As far as we can have it goes, we're working with Congo Phillips, they have a gas line running through that area, so we're working on getting things resolved with them before we complete that. Again, this is a picture of the north end. I'm guessing just looking at this, these are the mailboxes that got, the temporary mailboxes got relocated because of the Avenue project. So when they couldn't have mail service off that street, we put it over here, so everybody could buy and pick up the mail as part of that. You'd see something very similar, they would probably put mailboxes on Cleveland Avenue, so when they come in and drop their mail off, you can pick it up in one central area, so mail guys can try to hop through here as construction is going on. And then when construction is done, they'll pick them up. They'll put the mailboxes back in the day. This is the south section, again, so you can see there's an asphalt hookup, it ends out in there. There's some asphalt that got scattered in throughout the dirt pavement. When they did that, with that, obviously it's not formal here, but open up questions or looking for recommendation. I will talk a little bit about driveways, probably based upon grade. We're probably going to do a roll curve, which is what you saw in that. We will lower the roll curve to the driveways. So if you have new subdivisions, they do not do that. It's roll curve straight through, and so you don't know where the driveway's going to be on the house. They flip flop them around and change them around. So on a new subdivision, they can take that out with the driveway, install the driveway if you want. It's just a bump. Everything you don't want it, but that has been one of the things that's come up. That we would, this is all existing, we know where the drives are going to be. It would be a problem. We're going to roll it through those even if we don't roll through. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Any questions?
Sean, real quick, I'm sorry. The drainage right now on Wheaton, there is storm drains on the east side. What we just finished.
Is this from that's it. So if you see these two areas, there's one right here, right? And there's one up there, right? That one up there has the hill on both sides of the road, okay? Both on the east and west. And there's an area in the back behind the one on the left that picks up the ditch. Right. This one right here actually has a manhole with a beehive that picks up that ditch. This right here drains out.
Okay, so any water that's on the east side is going into those two inlets, it's not going into the ditch and then.
Correct. This has a crown in it, so anything that goes on this side drains that way, anything that drains this way. And vast majority of it goes to those inlets. That just picks up the road. Everything behind the road would drain through the ditch and be picked up.
I went out today and looked at it, but I forgot to do that. So,
I did too, that's why I took some of those pictures.
nice.
Any questions from the audience? No. We don't have a forum, but.
Thoughts?
I need to really still live up in that area, so it's something that you can think about.
But Wheatland Avenue.
Yeah.
The contractor's done now, so.
Other than the cul-de-sac. So we would use on-call more than likely unless it becomes an issue budget-wise. And that's a max of 50,000 we can do. So to try to move things along as quick as possible, we use our on-call contract and have them design this one. What we would love to do is probably have them design this one, provide people avenue for cost savings and because they know the area, they have an idea what's going on, they'll have some survey to be able to move forward as quick as possible, but we're still probably looking at somewhere between 4 to 6 months forward.
On construction or
Yeah, on construction.
so would it
This design, as soon as this is approved by council on the June 18th, we can go out and ask one of our on-call consultants to give us a scope.
could it be completed this year, you don't think?
There's a chance we can get it done this year, just depends on how cold the winter is. So it depends on each other location.
Any residents from that neighborhood here tonight? Your all's thoughts?
Reader done.
Later done. What'd you say, 12, 40? Okay, good, thank you.
Good. Thank you, Sean. Last thing is Dave.
Thank you for letting me borrow your clicker. You can exit out of it.
Good evening. I don't have any PowerPoint or anything for you, but the case before you tonight is an amendment to the community unit plan that was approved a number of years ago for New Market 5, which is south of 29th and on the west side of Bates Road. The lot in the middle has got improvements already on that, I'm sure you're aware of. Lot to the north is vacant. Large lot to the south is vacant. Then you get further south into more New Market. The biggest change that really is being asked for has to do with signage. There are some modifications on some height and potential gross floor area, but that's all going to be dictated by the on-site parking and what's managed based upon what actually gets built. I think signage is probably the bigger issue. It's kind of driving a lot of this stuff. Planning Commission is scheduled to hear this Thursday. Staff recommendation is for approval. We worked with the agent, and Rebecca's here representing them tonight, tweaking the issues with the signage. We got that down to where it's consistent with the sign code, and I think it's overall what's happening. As you're well aware, there's a lot of change going on Maze Road in that area. So with that, I'll be happy to answer the question. And Rebecca's here, probably better to ask questions of her. Yeah, we did provide you the information that they provided this also about the planning commission. So, any questions?
Any opposition at all?
I've had a couple of phone calls, primarily from folks in the area wondering, why did I get a letter? What are you doing with my property? This year it's over on Maze Road, and there really hasn't been any concerns anybody has raised. One landowner to the west, in the residential area, further to the west across the area that's set aside for drainage improvements, was wanting to know what was it going to move further to us. We said, we're not modifying lots. That's not right. So.
Questions from the audience? Board?
So, made this right, building height for parcel A,
45.
45?
Yeah.
This is 56 on the, is
I thought it was 45. I'm no pun.
that right?
Yeah.
I don't know the next time I came in here. In that regard. The primary purpose of adjusting the building height is for that large parcel in the south, with the potential use for a multi-story office building or multi-use building. But the intent is a 3-story building, so within the constraints of that,
It backs up to 2 reserves. So
correct,
it's
it
not-
backs up, yeah, it backs up to drainage way, it's actually floodway, so it can't even be modified, to anything different, which is why we're unconcerned with wanting to make that adjustment.
You say 56 is 3-story?
Is it listed?
That's what it says
Yeah.
here.
Councilman Ryan, I'm going to say 56.
Doesn't say 56.
So is that what we want?
That, the intent is 3-story, that, implementation.
Is 56 3 stories?
Well, normally 45 is 3 stories.
So we can reduce that down to 3.
You know, and based on the latest thing we had with respect to the indoor storage complex, there's questions about what we make of that for, and I got clarified that it's for the road that is for that, is measured, so.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the 54 feet, 56 feet, especially since we have the 2 reserves, there's that good buffer.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a 6-7-story hotel right across the street.
And that's a major component, it's to allow some flexibility there, and they mentioned staff's gonna restrict that based on the parking allocation as much as anything, so we can't put a 56-foot building in there if we don't have enough parking to accommodate that too. So there are some checks and balances there, if you're more comfortable, we
But
can.
really, in many ways, you can expand this lot going south or going.
True, yeah, there's no one to go.
Yeah, because we have those 2 reserves, I'm comfortable with where it's at, so just want to be clear.
Yeah. Yeah, the intent there really is flexibility as much as anything, and we ran into on some recent projects, that discrepancy of understanding where that measurement is from, so whether or not we're taller, especially in an area like this where you have that flexibility, or the wide buffer, it's more comforting to make it clear for everybody down the road how we can interpret.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, we approve.
Yes.
I know.
Well, it's 2 years.
We disagree with the problem.
Yeah, we did, don't we?
Okay, with that, anything on? Nope. Okay, we'll adjourn.
I'm just representing, I'm overdue to come to that.
Oh,
This year.
okay.
My first on capacity.
It's you didn't
This
have.
service all finished the Civic Engagement Academy.
Yes.
It's the recent alumni. That's
Thank you, great program, appreciate you guys putting on.
Rachel went through it as well. And some, just like the Fire Academy, they're good ways to learn how to work.
Yeah, we just see
Yeah,
that.
likewise. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we adjourn.